Good afternoon, Villa 2. This is Mrs. Hughes, and today I'm going to be talking to you about understanding ratios and unit rate. This is lesson 19-1 in your Springboard book. So we're going to start off with some vocabulary. Now, the first vocabulary term that I want you to understand is rate. And what rate is a comparison of two different units, such as miles per hour, or two different things measured with the same unit. So what does that mean? That means to understand rate, I'm going to be looking at different units, or same units with different measurements. So my example of this would be cups of concentrate, 2 cups of water. They're both measured in cups, but they are different units. One's a concentrate, while the other is water. So this is a rate. Now, the second thing I want to understand is unit rate. So we have rate, which is going to be the comparison of two different units at any increments. And then unit rate is going to be that rate expressed in terms of just one unit. How much does it cost or have for one of the units? And so this might be seen as miles per hour or words per second. And my example says that we have 60 miles per hour, which really means that it's 60 over 1, or 12 words per minute, which is 12 to 1. And those are our ratios and the rate in which we drive or type words. And so unit rate is just how much of one is there. So in 1 hour, we drive 60 miles. In 1 second, we type 12 words. That is unit rate. So today we're going to use this understanding, and we are going to take ratios, and we are going to convert them to unit rates. And the way that we do this is we start off with some examples. And so my example of rate versus unit rate. And my first example is going to give us 400 miles in 8 hours of driving. Now, if I were to write this as a ratio, my ratio is 400 miles to 8 hours. Now, this is the rate in which I'm driving, but I want to know, well, how far do I drive in 1 hour? That's going to give me my unit rate. And if I'm looking for my unit rate of hours, I want to get hours down to 1. So I have to ask myself, how would I get 8 hours to 1 hour? Well, my answer would be I would have to divide it by 8, because 8 divided by 8 is going to give me 1 hour. So if I divide 8 by 8, it's going to look like this, and it's going to give me 1 hour. Right? I took my 8 hours down to 1 hour by dividing it by 8. Well, what you do to your bottom, you have to do to the top. So I'm going to take my 400 and I'm going to divide it by 8 as well. And I know that 400 divided by 8 would give me 50. And this would represent 50 miles. And right here in this ratio, 50 to 1, I have come up with my unit rate. And so I took a ratio, a regular rate of 400 to 8, and I've converted it to unit rate, 50 to 1. Once I have my unit rate, it makes it very easy to find out how far I've traveled in any amount of time. If I wanted to know 2.5 hours, I would multiply this by 2.5, both of them. If I wanted to know 3 hours, I'd multiply both of these by 3. So unit rate comes in super handy. So let's go ahead and try this again. We're going to do one more example. And this one says that there are 300 sixth graders in 15 classes. So I'm going to start off with my rate, or my ratio that I'm provided, which is 300 kids to 15 classes. This is a great ratio, but it's not going to be super helpful if I want to know how many kids are in one class. So I'm going to have to figure out unit rate to do that. And in order to figure out unit rate, I look to classes. If I want to know how many kids are in one class, I need to figure out how do I get my classes to 1. Well, there's 15 classes, so I would divide this by 15. Because when I say 15 divided by 15, I get 1 class. And now I'm creating my unit rate. Well, what I do to the bottom, I'm going to do to the top. So I'm going to take 300 now, which is how many kids are at the school, and I'm going to divide it by 15, which is the same number. And 15 goes into 300 20 times, so that means that there are 20 kids in the class. And here I have found my unit rate. Sorry for the bell. And again, once I have the unit rate, my ratio as a unit rate, I can manipulate it and find the amount of kids in pretty much any amount of classes. So, we will continue to practice unit rate in class tomorrow. Please make sure you have all these notes down. If you need to go back and rewind to get them, please do that, because we will be applying unit rate to tomorrow's lesson. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow.